In one of his strange interviews, Hunter, the son of former President Joe Biden, said something that made Paul Vericki freeze in astonishment.
I mean, Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. The connections are so extensive and deep.
Epstein allegedly introduced Melania to Trump. That's what Hunter said. The implication is obvious. Melania worked as a prostitute for Epstein, and like his other prostitutes, Epstein introduced her to a rich and powerful client who later married her. By the way, this was one of the topics that the Democrats once considered, but the American media refused to consider this, fearing, let's say, huge financial claims from Trump. And of course, they reacted to what Hunter, Melania, and Trump said about a week ago.
Hunter Biden rudely brushed off the threat from First Lady Melania Trump to sue him for $1 billion. If he doesn't retract, as she claims, the false and defamatory comments linking her to the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, the former first son made this statement with a smirk on his face during an interview on the YouTube show Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan.
So now we're here, maybe to give you a chance to apologize to the First Lady.
For your statements about her possible connection to Jeffrey Epstein. That's not going to happen.
Melania's lawyers sent Hunter and his lawyers a letter demanding an apology, but no apology followed. "I could," said Hunter, "read this in Melania's biography, so what do they want from me?"
Failure to comply will leave Mrs. Trump with no choice but to use all legal rights and remedies available to her to recover the enormous financial and reputational damage you have caused her, wrote the First Lady's lawyer, Alejandro Bretto. Hunter Biden defended his past comments in a new interview, saying the information was based on claims by Donald Trump's biographer Michael Wolff, which he cited earlier.
Jeffrey Epstein, according to his biographer, introduced Melania. That's how the First Lady and President met. That's true.
Epstein.
He introduced them, yes, according to Michael Wolff. However, Melania's team
Apparently anticipated such a defense. They wrote in a legal notice that he unjustifiably relied on false, defamatory, disparaging, and provocative statements by Mr. Wolff about Mrs. Trump and maliciously chose to reprint them. Her team also made similar threats to other key figures.
Last month, for example, the Daily Beast retracted an article that spread similar claims after threats from the First Lady's team.
Brito told Hunter Biden he has until August 7 at 5
p.m. Eastern Time to immediately apologize for the false, defamatory, disparaging, misleading, and provocative statements about Ms. Trump. Otherwise, they'll sue him for $1 billion.
There was one publication that decided to publish excerpts from the supposed biography of Melania, which was actually commissioned by the Democratic Party when they tried to push this case. This was before the second term and before Trump in '47. But they immediately apologized and removed everything from the internet, and Hunter decided that since he read it somewhere, he could repeat it. Melania gave Hunter until August 7th. But he doesn't respond, laughs about it, and claims that he's a poor artist, that there's nothing to take from him except for paintings that used to sell for $500,000. You mean when his dad was president? And now surprises aren't needed by anyone. Yesterday, I reported that Kash Patel found and is starting to reveal the details of the exchange of services from the United States, meaning services from the country, for large transfers to the Clinton Foundation, which of course went directly to the Clinton family, father, mother, and daughter.
That's correct. This is a separate investigation that the FBI was planning to conduct regarding the Clinton Foundation, as well as her time as Secretary of State. The allegations that surrounded this were kind of in the public sphere, where people were talking about some of the interesting people who were major donors to the Clinton Foundation were getting meetings or possibly other things like appointments, something like that. While she was Secretary of State, there was even a specific mention of Clinton cash.
Yes, so this would be during the Obama administration when she was Secretary of State that they would investigate?
It likely started during the Trump administration, but the FBI began investigating in 2015.
At the end of the Obama administration, they began looking into it and working on it, and the details are remarkable. This is a timeline written by a Department of Justice attorney assigned to the FBI under James Comey.
Comey. Obama was preparing a dossier on Hillary just in case and started surveillance and fact-checking in 2015. I think it was so they could claim that not only did we not participate, but we actually began the investigation. But the Clintons hushed up the scandal, and the FBI never took this collected evidence anywhere.
There are many redacted names.
It appears to be mainly United States attorneys and staff in those offices or FBI field offices.
But the main names you see are people like Andre McCabe, who was the deputy director of the FBI.
They put obstacles at every turn for the field agents who really wanted to. These FBI agents had information, they conducted preliminary investigations, and they were told, as Logan said, to stop this investigation into alleged corruption in the Clinton Foundation and by former Secretary of State Hillary
Clinton. An order came to shut it down and forget about it. They shut it down, but not everyone forgot, because whoever he was, Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, or even someone nonpartisan, among all of them, there are decent people who aren't in it for ideology, but for the country, for the homeland, for the children, for
decency.
We are starting to find out that a lot of activity is happening where the Department of Justice and the FBI are holding meetings. They're having video calls, one of which was conducted by Deputy Director Andre McCabe in February 2016.
So this was their first thing, which started in August or July 2015.
Before the election cycle began, they started investigating it. That's right.
So was this when the FBI, or at least field agents, were still doing their job? Then things escalate.
Deputy Director McCabe led the meeting.
It was a secure video conference call with many people from the Criminal Division, the Washington Field Office, and the New York Field Office participating. And him. We need to make sure that no overt investigative actions regarding the Clinton Foundation investigation are taken without his adaptation. And so already from Washington, the deputy director says you can't do anything until I give you approval to take a step in the investigation.
This is already 7 months later after they started working on
this. The FBI leadership hangs out at the very top, and the interests of those at the top are more important to them than investigations and official duties, honor and conscience. Unfortunately, morality. They don't believe in God. They're not afraid of punishment. They just want to keep playing it safe. Clinton came from Kansas, where Bill was governor.
And there,
he did so much that the FBI was after Bill in Arkansas. There are a lot of materials about them, including, at that time, a couple dozen people who died under strange circumstances, who were about to say something about Bill and Hillary. As of today, by the way, there are more than 80 such unexplained deaths. There are people who believe that. By the way, I made a pretty big program, I think 7 or 8 half-hour videos on the topic. It's available on my Camerton Global. You can already find a lot of interesting material there. But let's get back. As of today, at least 80 people from the so-called Clinton circle have either died under very strange circumstances or committed suicide. There were 2 people, I think, who shot themselves in the back of the head. Well, okay, someone joked that they shot themselves in the back of the head twice. But, so, accordingly, 3 FBI offices, independently of each other, by the way, were investigating Clinton's criminal activity. Or rather, they were investigating Clinton's alleged criminal activity in Arkansas, New York, and
Washington, the Arkansas office, since that's where it started.
Exactly, but that's where the Clintons are from and have many connections.
Most operations ran from New York involving its office, but offices in Little Rock, New York, and Washington each investigated independently.
Then we found out that she told them to stop it.
They really didn't do that, the FBI agents, because they were still investigating, still reviewing.
And this is the former, well, under Trump, the 45th CIA director of National Intelligence, who started the process of declassifying documents to look for hidden leads in the investigation. That's how it is.
In February 2020, we declassified a lot of information. At that time, we proved Adam Schiff was playing politics, manipulating the truth and lying to Americans for political gain. And we proved it by declassifying documents that showed his attacks on Mike Flynn were completely false and fabricated. What should have happened in February 2020 is that Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General, should have immediately taken this and brought charges to prove what Adam Schiff had done. And the manipulation is obvious. As a politician and Intelligence Committee chairman, I often go on television saying, "Trust me, I know, but it's classified, so I can't share details." He lied. Now we know he lied, and I think it's disgraceful that he was allowed to continue. With no consequences, I hope that changes.
And here's what the Democrats did after getting all that.
Material from some top people, I don't know. For instance, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates said in 2017, "Shut it down. That is serious and I say, quote, "Stop the investigation into the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation right away."
All inquiries and investigations. Isn't it interesting? A person commits a crime, but if their party is in power at the time, he or she isn't punished. Is this what we want in the country you've come to live in, ladies and
Gentlemen? All right, there are major news events now.
We have just received new documents about the cover-up for Hillary Clinton.
3 major investigations that the Justice Department under Obama ordered to stop. So, a little background. Russ served our country in various capacities.
He worked on special access programs for RUMA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the National Security Agency, the National Security Agency of RUS.
Is it true that because of your security clearance and the programs you were attached to, you were prohibited from communicating with Congress and the Congressional Intelligence Committee?
Oh, that's right. I couldn't speak with either committee because their clearance level wasn't high enough.
If you can believe it, yes, I had a higher security clearance than the members of Congress on the Intelligence Committee.
Editor, the National Security Agency confirmed it. Do you think that was just an excuse to silence you?
Even though the letter you showed me said you have First Amendment rights? And we like that you want to speak, but if you do, we will basically try to destroy you.
Well, they tried to ruin me anyway.
But yes, I was.
Actually, I had, a few conversations with Congress at a lower level with staffers, and one of them was with House Permanent Select Committee. It was like the guy kept telling me, if you go beyond C, classified here, you'll break the law and you could be arrested.
On Capitol Hill, I wonder why I'm here, why you called me, and why we're even talking. It's just crazy, but it just shows that Congress
has been compromised. This Congress should make sure that the law enforcement agencies don't overstep their bounds. But the law enforcement agencies give some of their members higher clearance than the members of Congress. By law enforcement agencies can't answer questions from Congress members because they lack sufficient clearance. They're just lying, but it's legal. It's a kind of legal basis. I want you to listen to this absolutely unique, captivating, and interesting conversation between Steve Gardner. I've shown him several times already. He's an interesting journalist, podcaster, and so on, and a former National Security Agency analyst of a very high rank who had clearance, not just, like only 8 people on Capitol Hill. I told you, 4 from Congress and 4 from the Senate. Get the right. the right to be told. They have to go into a special room, and there, without taking anything out, they can review the information. But it's exactly the same information that the president gets. Well, and a few people in the Pentagon and a few people in the White House, and that's it. He had the same one. Well, someone has to make those reports. He was the person who wrote those reports. What I was doing, he said, isn't written in reports to the president. People approach him when no one is around and whisper in his ear, well,
It all began with me and General Hayden, who, as I understand, sold his soul.
He made a Faustian deal with the president at the time, who was George Bush, to get another star on his shoulder.
And in the end, he was rewarded for turning the National Security Agency inward against everyone in the country, eventually getting another star and becoming the director of the CIA after the National Security Agency.
You mean Bush Jr.? They started watching everyone, collecting information. Well, just in case.
Well, just in case.
Who do you think started it? Hillary Clinton bringing in Obama, Obama bringing in Hillary, or did they decide together?
We use intelligence and the mainstream media, which love to feed this information to the American public.
We will turn this against America and remove Trump. That's what I think happened.
I think you remember when Obama was running for president and we...
You know, I told the world what I knew at the end of 2005.
So the National Security Agency, of course, said that I was crazy.
They said I was nuts, that I had lost my mind.
You might wonder, why did they give a guy with the highest security clearances in this country to someone who's nuts?
Yeah? So what? I passed all my psych evaluations before they targeted me out of revenge.
But Obama said he was going to stop the intelligence community from abusing its enemies and all that.
Later, when he was a senator, the issue arose. By then, I already knew they were spying on him.
I think they had compromising material on Obama, and eventually he became their puppet.
They told him, we have compromising material on you.
You'll get both carrot and stick, making you incredibly rich.
You'll become president, everyone will bow before you, or we will destroy you.
One of the two. And, of course, he chose, well, I don't know what they have on him. But I think they have compromising material on him, and he said, I'll take the money and do as you say, since I'm the boss.
I remember it was somewhere around 2015.
In the year or something.
Something like that.
Obama unexpectedly appeared in
The National Security Agency, and
it was a kind of secret meeting. I knew about it because I had sources, even a very close one. I think I can say that my wife worked at the National Security Agency. She worked in the administrative department or in contracts, so she wasn't involved in secret matters. So my wife didn't even know he was coming, so I said, yes, he
will come. And
I think he was called to
the National Security Agency to
give him a lecture. That
he will be,
do what we say or else.
So I think Obama was compromised, and ultimately, let's face it, Hillary probably has more dirt on her than the Wicked Witch of the West. She doesn't just have a squad of flying monkeys, she has 4 or 5 armies of them.
So that's probably not hard. It's not too difficult to find dirt on Hillary.
And by 2012? The National Security Agency listens to everything, especially foreign affairs with our people. So whatever happens in Benghazi, the National Security Agency knows about it. All those 30,000 emails that Hillary deleted and destroyed, and, you know, Storla, the National Security Agency, has them.
They have them.
So you don't think the intelligence community controls people when they have that kind of compromising material on them? Of course.
They can.
In my opinion, it's a wonderful monologue. There are people in the state who know everything about everyone, but especially about those who stand out in some way. Maybe they even have information on janitors, sweepers, and those who weed the gardens, but I don't think they're very interested. But those who stand out for something, those personalities, they do have information on them if they want to. These gentlemen who have information can control any senator, governor, or president because a president didn't become president right away. He took quite a long time to get there. And it really seems like they have nothing on Trump. Well, what could possibly stop him, so to speak? And power is slipping out of their hands because power there wasn't held by these little documents. But that's still modern, to remove it. Or maybe even earlier, we don't know, but he's just famous for this. 4 presidents, and he kept all of them in check. There's Filari, Bill Bush, Obama. They all do what the good guys from intelligence tell them to do. You can't get close to this.
All right, I'll change the subject.
Do you remember in 2023 when Officer Jack Teixeira leaked information on Discord to his video game friends?
Proof that Ukraine was losing the Russia-Ukraine war. Do you remember?
Sorry?
I think I remember that, yeah. All right.
In the end, Biden was furious because intelligence revealed Ukraine was not winning, weapons weren't being delivered, and money was being stolen.
In the end, he ends up in prison for 15 years for revealing the truth.
I'm just curious, what do you think could happen to Congressman Adam Schiff, who apparently deliberately leaked false information in 2017 and 2018?
To humiliate Donald Trump, his children, mislead the American people, and carry out a soft coup against the sitting president?
If they're going after a guy for leaking information at a game, why wouldn't they go after a guy from the Intelligence Committee who gave false information to Americans?
Continuation. Well, because there's a difference between someone at the bottom of the ladder and someone at the top.
And ultimately, you have to realize, whether President Trump understands it or not, that the snakes are still there.
The deep state is still active, and I believe it. He was very confident.
Actually, when he first became president, I told my wife, this man has no idea what he's up against, and he doesn't have any. And the snakes were wrapping around his legs, smiling, showering him with compliments, basically flattering him right before they sank their fangs straight into the flesh of his backside. So those snakes are still there, and those snakes will try to protect Shifty Shifa. So, you have to see, if that doesn't happen, first of all, Miss Bondi is definitely compromised if everything will be blocked.
And won't move forward. And as I said, I doubt her.
Tulsi Gabbard, I wasn't sure about her, I thought that she was, of course, qualified because she had never been in intelligence, but she proved that she is loyal. But the intelligence community set her up when she went to Capitol Hill to say that, there was no way the Iranians could produce, or they weren't enriching nuclear material for nuclear
weapons. It's interesting that he thinks Pam Bandy has something dark in her past that intelligence knows about and pressured her over it. And that Red Criff, who was in the CIA, that he's their man, not Trump's. So A. Tulsi, he thinks, is one of their own, whom they tried to frame in order to get rid of her, but couldn't. Interesting, redactor, what happened with Einstein and the PAM decision?
Redaktor Semkin subtitrów N.
Alexandrova, proofreader Akulakova.
You will find out that the guards and the prison warden, they all live very comfortably now.
New houses, new, boats, this and that. But they know if they open their mouths, they'll be dead.
So yeah, there's no chance that this happened to Einstein. And, I'm just a regular intelligence analyst. I looked at it and I'm like, no.
No chance.
Actually, even a 5-year-old child can understand that
this happened.
And if you understood that this happened, then you need to
ask who
and
How? There is
only one
agency that could pull this off. And that's mostly the CIA, with the FBI hiding any physical evidence that needs to be hidden, and the National Security Agency hiding any digital evidence, like the shooter in Pennsylvania.
They, suddenly wiped the blood off the roof and cremated his body. That's it.
The FBI gets rid of the evidence. Why? Because toxicology would probably prove that he was on drugs.
because the CIA loves its drugs, and he was probably drugged at the CIA, so he would go after the president.
I warned President Trump 3 years ago they might try to kill him. But anyway, the guy who did it, suddenly he has it.
You know, a 20-year-old has no social profile, no electronics, no, Facebook, no Twitter, no, Instagram, nothing at all. What? All kids are on these things. He has nothing.
I believe there's only one agency that can completely erase someone's digital footprint, and that's the National Security Agency. So,
you basically had the entire intelligence community involved in that first attempt on the president's life.
All the security agencies, not the military, not that part, yes, work together to remove the potential president to prevent him from entering the White House a second time.
House. I don't know. They cleared out his house, as you said, no social media, and can't access his phone.
Are you saying that the United States government can't hack someone's phone? Come on.
And then they burn his body while there are hearings in Congress about him. They secretly burn his body.
None of this makes any sense.
All right.
Just late last night, it became known that Obama and his Department of Justice, they basically had 3 major investigations against Hillary Clinton, and they were told to stop them. Stop investigating her, ignore her selling uranium to Russia, ignore the fact that her husband is getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for speeches in Russia.
The Clinton Foundation stopped the investigation, her emails stopped the investigation, all of that was told to be stopped.
That's why I feel like we won't get to Hillary Clinton.
Because those who have the information, they're not helping.
It feels like they want to cover her tracks for some reason.
If the National Security Agency has all this information, and if I were president, I would.
First of all, I think he already fired Director Hugh, who was there, and the deputy, right?
I'm not sure. It seems like it's still the deputy who got promoted, that he hasn't appointed a permanent replacement for Hugh, right? I'd come in and say, look,
first of all, stop any internal spying that's going on without probable cause, and then anything related
to S.
Things that could be crimes like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and everything else.
You go back to the databases and use what they did against themselves.
Find what they did, find those 30,000 emails, find out what conversations Obama had with Hillary and with others during Benghazi.
Don't take it apart.
And then basically we can hang them on this information that they themselves were part of it and accomplices, allowing this to happen.
Hidden and
from the world.
I'm afraid that the president...
Trump might
think I can tame this snake and use it for my own benefit.
If that's President Trump's attitude, he's acting foolishly because this snake is a Gorgon and this snake will consume him.
So I, of course, hope that President Trump
is not so
foolish to think that way, but he, needs to have the right people.
Tulsi Gabbard needed the right people to prompt her, so when they set her up, she would respond appropriately.
The Iranians have no intention of developing nuclear weapons, oh my God.
They went after her because she was too naive to understand the difference.
So she needs to make sure she has the right aides who can whisper in her ear and say, hey, you're being set up, madam.
Director, it's not very reassuring, everything we're hearing, but it's remarkable that we managed to bring this information out into the open for discussion. What can we even do? That's what Slava Trampu is talking about, Slava Trampu. If we don't solve a few fundamental problems, we always will be. Then we'll say, oh, how we were deceived and robbed, and then again, oh, how we were deceived. So I have a question for you. How do you feel about it, gentlemen? Let's say your neighbor Joe broke into your apartment or house and took your favorite cap without your permission. That's theft, right? Theft. But what if, while he was climbing up the pipe, he came face to face with your other neighbor in the window below you and said to him, I'm actually climbing in through the window, over there in Tours to get her cap back. So that's the second neighbor. Well, let's say his name was Ben, right? He said, okay. So he didn't really object. Now, Joe didn't take it by himself, but Ben said, okay, kind of gave him permission to do it. Now, is Joe guilty or not? Is it theft or not? Of course it's theft. Why is it theft? Dreckov had nothing to do with your cap, and if Joe asked all the residents of the neighborhood, asked, what do you think? What do you believe? And everyone said, yes, take his cap from him. He's not a real man, and we don't like him, nor the cap, we don't like it. So if he asked everyone, and everyone answered, and the majority said, okay, the majority democratically, someone said, no, don't do it, but the majority said it's allowed, and he took it. That's theft, because the majority of the neighborhood residents, except for the one owner of the cap, said, okay, now what is this? Well, what should we call it? Theft, because the one who owns the cap, didn't give permission. And what about money? Now, what if he didn't steal a cap, but let's say $10,000, and not from an apartment, but from a bank? Well, let's say he managed to pick up some electronic thing there, transferred money from your account to himself. Is that theft or just bad luck? You'd say, of course it's theft, right? Well, all right then. He didn't transfer the money to his own account, but to the hospital's account, where his blind daughter was having surgery to restore her sight. So he transferred it for his daughter for a good cause. Is this theft, or is he a noble crook who doesn't really steal? He just takes from you and gives it away to cure a sick girl who happens to be his daughter, or maybe not even his daughter. He just felt sorry for his neighbor, took it from your account, and transferred it to the hospital. Is this stealing or not anymore? And what if you have a limit? No, 1,000 such accounts, and each has $10,000 on it, but he only took one, and for a noble cause. Because the girl will have eyes, she will be able to see she's a good girl, a little one, well, young, that's it. And besides that, do you know what else has been done? I asked the bank director and the city mayor, and 2 city council members, and a retired lieutenant colonel, and they all said if you need it that much, take it. And the mayor even wrote a certificate like, I don't mind. And he's even in favor of taking a little money from a rich and not very pleasant guy to help a good girl get better. That's true, since neither the people nor the authorities oppose it. Even the local newspaper wrote that, in their opinion, it's moral to take money for a good cause from a nasty and, most importantly, rich person. But you are the owner, and no one gave permission to take your cap, your money, your house, or your car. What is this, gentlemen? If you didn't ask the owner, then what is this? Is this theft? And if the members of the local government got together and decided to call it not theft, but legal redistribution, then what is it? If they call it honest redistribution, is it really honest, or is it still theft? If they didn't ask the person who owns what they took. And if the elites themselves decided to call taking money pumpernickel, does it stop being theft just because they called it pumpernickel? Well, that's what bread is called in Germany. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I really liked it. There you go. And now, the last most important, as Vladimir Ilyich Lenin used to say, question. The majority of the population, the mayor, members of the city council, the police, and the homeless. Everyone, not just the majority. Everyone voted to take your property without your knowledge or consent. And they called it an imposition, a regulation, an application, or taxes. Does that change anything? Does it stop being theft? Or if the owner wasn't asked, is it still theft? Look at what's happening. As soon as we appoint people who, like members of the United States Congress, for example, can take any amount of money from you at any time for any purpose, there are a lot of people who want to get their hands on it. Fights break out between them for seats on this money. They say seats on the pipe. Those who have the power and the means to influence get involved in the fight. We call them the security forces. As soon as they have the technical capability, they start collecting files on everyone who could compete with them. Well, compete with them in terms of using money. These are the ones who are elected. So we have Vorov, and so those who manage the stolen goods taken without destroying the owners.
With the means and
property. And so to keep you from getting upset, they tell you stories about a blind girl who needs an expensive surgery, but the bad and rich people, those bastards, don't want to help, miss. And then the idea comes to make even more money because that idea comes to everyone all the time. And they either declare war on another country, or if there's no one to fight, yeah, a war on drugs or a war on poverty or even on hobos or on the homeless. And they steal from you more and more, more and more, more and more, and if you're against it, then you're heartless.
A scoundrel. And
instead of you, in a civilized society, no. And they take even more. Here, yes, and Ginny, and then we'll punish you for that. What did Lokilovic do, Barabala? Then after that stole, and then Barabala, what did Obama do? Bought it for $15 million.
A house on
the ocean front, which, according to him, he told us about for, 8 years. The river was supposed to overflow its banks, and if you live right on the shore, you'll just get flooded immediately. He bought a house on the shore for $15 million. And maybe he had the idea to flood his wife, his kids, who knows. And on the day President Barack finishes his term, Barack and Michelle suddenly get $100 million. $100 million. I'm not joking. For future books and movies that they will definitely make someday. Al Gore, do you remember that vice president? Yes, the one who ran for president. So at the moment he left the White House, he had $2 million in real estate, in cash, in everything, cars and so on. And soon, out of nowhere, he had $200 million. Now he has $300 million. An Oscar for the movie and a Nobel Prize for deceiving the world. That's it, just like that. Next, a Nobel Prize, a prize for deceiving the whole planet. The Clintons took several sets of tableware out of the White House, claiming they had nothing to serve guests with, that they were so poor. They gave away everything and had nothing left, but now they have $240 million. I'm not even counting what they slipped to their daughter. And the Clinton Foundation received about $300 million during the years when Hillary was Secretary of State. Rumor has it that when she left that position, the foundation stopped receiving money. The question is why? That's a tough question, but you'll have to think about it yourself. Why should I tell you all this? Given that about 200 years ago, the best order on the planet was established in the United States of America, it gave an incredible boost to the development of our new world. To be continued. 200 years of bureaucracy have undermined the main foundations, and it became clear that the Constitution needed to be patched up. I'm not saying to change it, I'm saying to patch it up and change the way society is governed. So deciding who gets to color things by majority vote is absurd, criminal, and immoral. 3 people. 1 works, 2 don't, and they meet up. Democracy. They voted to take half the workers' money, but why? Is that democracy? So there are 70,000 homeless people on the streets of Los Angeles. It's absurd and criminal to allocate billions of dollars every year. You just need to house these homeless people, but if you house them once, how will you keep milking the programs? Right? So, having the right to open the borders, to let in 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many millions of illegals, that's criminal, right? Letting politicians and bureaucrats manage finances for public projects is criminal. It's stupid. It leads to theft, corruption, conflicts, fights, you name it. That is, it's against what we want. A peaceful life with prosperity and freedom. We do everything to destroy those freedoms
that are embedded
in common sense. Thomas Paine and from his pamphlet were transferred to the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. We keep switching rulers and parties, hoping this time things will change. Everything will be different completely. And then it turns out that they just switch places, and then after some time they switch places again. They keep swapping back and forth, and it's foolish to expect anything to change. This has happened 30 times and nothing changes. Ronald Reagan comes in, things improve briefly, then it returns.
It happens, not because
he's bad, but because that's just the way things are. Redactors simply swapping things doesn't work. There's an appearance, everyone is happy, everyone is shouting, everyone is dancing in the streets. Bam! It started again, time is changing. A way of control. Follow me, Oshkar. Start with my book, Capitalism 101, for free. The link is below in the description. And after you download the book, you'll start getting more for free as well. Thank you, Science of Freedom Foundation. Every day, videos like these that are 10 minutes long. Interesting, engaging, and captivating videos. So start your day with these 10 minutes. Grab a cup of coffee or maybe a glass of champagne, whatever you drink in the morning. And very soon in your head, maybe a little less champagne though. Well, that too. Very soon a completely different picture of the world will start to form in your mind, and then we'll talk.